Let's talk about ignition timing. First off, you have to understand, I play by a different set of rules, so what I'm about to say probably doesn't translate to a lot of people. However, I'm going to put out there what I do, and you can decide for yourself whether or not that is right for you. So, the reason I play under a different set of rules is because I've always been into American muscle. So, making less than 300 horsepower usually doesn't happen, and if it does, out comes the cherry picker or on goes the power adder. Nitrous, blower, something like that. You're already starting with a significant amount of power. What you're doing when you're playing with timing is trying to resolve one of these problems. Number one, dieseling. That's where you shut it off and it wants to keep running. You shut it off, it's like, klong, 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 klong. Number two, hard start. We've all seen these guys at the car show. Gotta get rid of that. You want your engine to start just like a factory car. Hit of the key, whoom! Instant start. Next one, falling on its face or knocking. So what I mean by falling on its face is when the pedal hits the floor, you don't go back. It kind of like chugs for a second and then goes. Or like when you're driving through your R's, you get into the higher R's, you start hearing it sounds like a little midget in there with a hammer just beating on your firewall. Those are what we're trying to get rid of. Now I understand there's something called the timing curve, initial timing, and total timing, but honestly that's all bullshit for our application. Now I get it with a Honda Civic where you're like, okay, I have made 200 horsepower and I got 78 going all the way to the wheel. I need to squeeze every little last drop of horsepower out of my engine, so I'm going to play with my timing curve and maybe tweak my initial timing or do more on my total timing. But to be honest, in a muscle car, if you're not hitting one of these things, or if you're drag racing's a different story because you can win or lose a race by like 10 thousandths of a second. So then yes, you want everything like on point. But for your basic muscle car, street car application, if you don't have one of these three problems, leave your timing the hell alone. Alright, so first things first, let's pretend you do have one of these problems. We'll even take it one step farther. Let's pretend your engine didn't come with timing marks. I've been in that boat. It's tough, it's scary, but you know we're going to go through this. So what you're going to do is you need to find top dead center. Your firing order, well this is on a Chevy, is 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2, and then your cylinders are organized odds and evens. Ford does things differently. Now, I don't know why they don't number the cylinders in the order that the firing order is, and then just have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the distributor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the cylinders in the order they're going to fire, but whatever, they decide to do it this way, so it can be a little bit confusing. So we need to find top dead cylinder, or top dead on cylinder number 1. What you're going to do is you're going to remove the power wire on the distributor. You're going to take out the number 1 spark plug, and you're going to put your finger over top of the spark plug hole. You're going to apply pressure. Then you're going to have somebody hit the key. And you want to keep doing that until you feel pressure blow your finger out. Not like off, like it's missing, but like you'll move your finger and go psh, or you'll feel pressure on it. Now if the person hits the key and the engine starts or it doesn't turn over, you pulled off the wrong shit, put whatever the hell you pulled off back on and pull some other shit off. Sooner or later you'll find the right wire. Just remove the wire. You don't want it to fire up while he's bumping the starter. So you find pressure. Now what you're going to do is take like a small screwdriver or a piece of wire, maybe a pencil, probably not a pencil because this would break, but something metal, and you're going to put it so it's touching the top, or so it's in the cylinder as far as you can go, like this. Your spark plug hole, you're just putting it in there like that. And make sure your friend gets the hell out of the vehicle. It's actually not a bad idea to also disconnect the battery to prevent, losing some fingers. You're either going to grab onto the belt or the flywheel with a ratchet, whatever you want to do, and you're going to slowly rotate the engine until you feel it start to push up. And then you're going to rotate, 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 and then you'll hit a point right where it stops coming up. If you go too far, just back up a little bit, but you want it at the very top. Because you felt pressure on your finger, you know that's the power stroke. You've brought the piston all the way up, so now you know you're at top dead center on cylinder number 1. So now we can get started. Now what you're going to want to do is check your firing order and make sure that all the wires are in the correct location. Usually that's where a problem is. A wire's crossed or something is not right. Pull off your cap. Where's my marker? You pull off your distributor cap. You'll see the plastic piece inside. It'll have a little note on it. Like, okay, that is where I want it. Now, sometimes it'll be here, or here, or here, or here, and you're at top dead center. I like to reset this back to where it is, or where it's supposed to be, which is just off maybe 4 o'clock. Is it 4? Yeah, 4 o'clock on this one, I believe. I can't remember if it's 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock. But either which way, on the driver's side of the car, I believe it's 4 o'clock. Typically where I want it. So then you'll have to pull out the distributor completely, take a big screwdriver, put it in there, because inside the distributor hole, this is a hole. I know it's square, but it's not. You just can't see well. So inside of there, you'll see the oil pump. It'll have a little notch on it. And then the bottom of your distributor will also have a notch on it. You gotta put a screwdriver in there and turn this. Don't drop the screwdriver in there, whatever the hell you do. Turn your oil pump so it's in the proper direction. Drop your distributor back down so the little electrode is pointing at 4 o'clock. And then you're going to start organizing your wires. You're going to start with number 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. So now we know that the firing order is correct and your distributor is pointed generally in the right direction. What we're going to have to do is set the timing. So now normally, what you would do at this point, forget about the total timing gun. Like I said, it's a gimmick. It's for people that make less than 300 horsepower. Or if you're drag racing. But honestly, if you set up your timing, your initial timing correctly, you're not getting one of these 3 things happening, and you're not getting enough power, trying to juice just a little bit more power out by playing with the total timing or the timing curve, you're still not going to be satisfied. If you set your timing and you're not satisfied and you're not getting one of these 3 symptoms, it's time to look at power adders or cherry pickering that bitch out of there and putting in something more respectable. So, now normally what you would do is you disconnect the vacuum or electronic advance on the distributor, start the car up, you're going to use your timing light. Each car has an individual sweet spot. Like for example on my Jimmy, it was 10.25 degrees. It was just barely off of 10 degrees. Closer to 10 than 11, so I call it 10.25 degrees. That's where I got the most performance out. That's where it started easy, it didn't diesel, it didn't fall on its face, and it felt great through the power curve. Now how you do it without a timing mark, you're going to leave your advance hooked up. Now, what I would do, because, alright, you're at top dead center, your harmonic balancer is just sitting there. This is your harmonic balancer on your engine. It's just sitting there. There's no marks on it. There's no mark at all on the engine. Find a bolt or something and cut a little notch in it, and then cut a notch on your harmonic balancer. Now remember, this is a balancing device, so keep those notches light. Then put a chalk mark on it, because you need a start point so you can figure out how much you're actually moving it. So alright, you cut your little mark. You got a timing light. It's just an initial light. It's not one of those it's not one of those total timing lights. So you got your mark. You're going to park on a hill. A drastic hill. And you're going to start it up. Does it start easy? Yes or no? We'll say no. So you're going to pull out your timing light and you're going to move the distributor so it's right next to the mark. You're just going to move slightly over. I would go in the advanced direction. So it would actually be, instead of slightly over this way, slightly over this way. So just bump it just a little bit, just so it barely moves a little bit over. Shut it off. Does it start easy? No? Well, we're going to go a little bit more. And you keep doing that till it starts easy. Then, shut it off. Does it diesel? Yes or no? If it does diesel, well, you know, you're going to go a little bit in the retarded direction. So all right, now we got it so it starts good, and it doesn't diesel. Now that's still a pretty wide gap where it'll do that, but we want to find power too. So now we're on a hill, you start it up, put it in gear, just drop the hammer immediately. If it falls on its face, we're going to tweak it a little bit. Try it again. If it falls on its face, we're going to tweak it a little bit. Try it again. If it falls on its face, we're going to tweak it a little bit. And that's basically what you're going to do, and you're going to make sure that it, 1, starts easy, 2, doesn't fall on its face, 3, does not diesel / overknock, and then after all that's set up, take it for a run and see if you get a knocking on the engine. If you don't, well, you're good to go. But honestly, if you've got rid of those 3 symptoms, you're not going to get a knocking on the engine. It's just not going to happen. But we're going to pretend it does. So you got a knocking on your engine, then you're going to tweak it a little bit more. And you'll start to notice, like, okay, in between the bolt where I cut the notch and this little piece of grease right here is where it runs pretty good, and then it runs really good on the far point of the bolt. That's basically how you do it. It's really that simple. Like, that's it. And if you do it that way and you ultimately get timing marks, you'll find, like on a small block Chevy, you're right around 6 to 12 degrees, somewhere in there. Maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 6, I don't know. Now, if you're running and so everything runs great, it does diesel, doesn't start hard, it doesn't fall on its face, but then at a certain RPM it kind of chugs a little bit or something like that, now that's when you're going to play with your total timing, or your timing curve. You're going to do that by the weights or the springs inside of the distributor, but only do that if you're having like a chugging or it doesn't seem right at a certain RPM. Other than that, remember, these distributors are designed by people that are building small block Chevys long before your dad was ever a dream on your grandma's fantasy. Like, they are experts. They're not just some random guy sitting in the shop just throwing crap together that you have to adjust or tune. It's going to come out of the box pretty much exactly how you want it. If it doesn't, it's because you're doing something that's rare or unexpected or way out of the ordinary. 90% of the time, probably even closer to 99% of the time, you buy a quality part, it's going to work exactly how it should without any tweaking on it, and that includes the distributor. Now, I get the first time you make 300 horse on an engine, you're like, dude, I'm Isaac Newton, I'm like the smartest guy ever, and you're going to try to reinvent the wheel. You're going to buy like an MSD and the spring kit, and you're going to wind up changing all of them out and trying different things, and you'll wind up most likely going right back to factory because it was better at factory than you could have tuned it. Same with a carb. You'll buy a carb, you'll buy a pile of jets, you'll put the carb on there, and we're pretending it's the right carb for the application. You'll start changing out jets and accelerator pumps and accelerator diaphragms and accelerator squirters. And you'll try all this different crap, and then in the end you'll just wind up going right back to what it was originally set at because that's where it performs best. I swear to God, on those horsepower shows, they'll go and throw the wrong jets and carbs or something because I've never seen anybody have that much success by changing jets. Normally, they'll change the jets even 1 or 2 sizes one way or the other, and they'll be like, oh, it runs great where it was originally set. So I don't know how they always change jets and how they always manage to get positive results. Again, I'm convinced that they either change the jets so much it's like completely away from factory, or before they shoot that episode, they'll throw in the wrong jets this way they can show themselves pulling off the bulls and changing the jets. It's the only explanation I got. Because, yeah, I've watched several people play with different shit. If they do wind up not going with factory, it's so close to factory it might as well have been the factory setting. But again, you know, these are muscle cars. They're not Honda Civics. So playing with a timing curve and doing something like that to pick up 5 more horsepower, we're not even going to notice it. I mean, that's like the horsepower of just changing your air filter. So anyway, I hope this video was at least entertaining, if not helpful. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.